Okay.
So was it called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter's Daughter?
I think so.
Because something I thought it said like Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, and I was like, why? That didn't make sense to me because it wasn't really about him. It was all about.
Yeah.
Kaguya.
Okay.
I watched the movie.
Did you really?
I did, yeah.
Wait, the Ghibli?
Uh-huh. Some parts deviated from the story a little bit because they added like a character that wasn't there. A lot of it was very similar.
Okay.
So it was just the style's interesting. You've seen it, right?
I think I started to watch it, but then for some reason or other, I didn't finish it. I don't know why, but yeah.
Like watercolor and colored pencils and stuff.
It looked sort of outdated. I mean,
because parts of it to me just looked straight up like a picture book. Like they
really?
just kind of. Sometimes they didn't even go to the full edge of the paper or the screen or whatever.
Okay, well now I'm gonna have to watch it.
Which version did you read?
I read the one from Wikipedia. I thought about reading all three, but then I just ran out of time.
So that's what I ended up doing. Read all three of them.
So what did you think?
The Google Books one reminded me of 1001 Nights in the sense that the way it was told and like the translation was older and they would talk in poetry at times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very reminiscent. The Wikipedia one was really easy to follow, and if like you just want to get the feel of the story, it's a good way to go. And then the one that was on JSTOR, the Donald King one, was probably the best one.
Really?
Just the way he translated it. I think it was from the 50s, conversational, but still felt like a mesh of the older British translation and the Wikipedia translation. Mm-hmm. And he didn't skip over the fifth suitor.
Oh, really?
Well, I guess we should.
Says has 5 suitors, and she gives them impossible tasks. So she does not want to get married. Find a skull, or the jewel out of a dragon's neck, or the coat made out of a fire rat that wouldn't burn. And one of them was the swallow bowl, the shell out of a swallow. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so Google one, and it says like there's a little footnote that says this one was skipped over.
There were footnotes in that one?
Mm-hmm. And the translator's notes at the end of it. And he says what happens in the fifth story. And I don't know why they cut it out. So the guy, he goes and he finds the swallow. And he reaches into the swallow through his mouth hole. And he grabs something, but at that time he falls. One version was paralyzed from the fall. One version he died, and he opened his hand. He thought he had it because he felt something in his hand, and it was just bird poop.
Oh, God! And I missed it? That's like the best part. Oh, wait, so he actually attempted the journey.
Yeah, they all attempted it. Well, all but one attempted.
Okay, because it seems to me like the others tried to take shortcuts, or they didn't do what they were really supposed to do.
One guy made the jewel branch.
Oh, yeah.
The other guy spent his whole fortune on what he thought was a fire rat. He didn't go do it. He bought it. So, like, they all did take shortcuts. But this one guy, they cut out. The translator's notes, it stated how, like, the story, they believe, was basically the daughter being found and then leading up to the naming of Mount Fuji. Is there a word for those kind of stories that tell about the naming of something?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Oh, but the translator guy, he said that the suitors was added much later, like
really?
In time. Yeah.
I mean, but I thought it was really interesting just how she was found, inside of a bamboo. I mean, so it started off in a magical way, and so I liked it.
The whole thing was magical.
Yeah.
It had some weird turns. So like it starts off with they find the girl and she grows quickly like bamboo. Right? Like I get the parallel. I get what you're doing. And then all of a sudden it's the suitors and their tale, and they go kind of in depth, especially with the guy with the trying to get the dragon. Like that was a whole like little mini adventure, just like the Arabian Nights. And then it turned again, trying to protect her from the moon people and the naming of Mount. Like it was like almost like 3 different stories that could have been different, but were all the same.
I mean, but didn't you find it odd though that it turns out that she was actually sent to be punished, but she actually enjoyed her life with the bamboo cutter and his wife?
The movie touched on a lot too. She found like the beauty in nature, and she always, it's not in the story, but she did something bad because she saw the woman who would like had this tear. She wanted to understand it, so at the end of the movie, when she doesn't remember anything, she looks back and there's just a single tear. So like, oh, it's like full circle. But
it was a captivating story. I thought.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's mentioned a lot in the Tales of Genji. I wonder if that's why they.
That one?
They make a reference to it being like The Ancient Romance or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was weird to do something different that wasn't the Arabian Nights.
It was, but I liked it though. I think I was ready to move on.
Hope you're not ready to move on too quickly. Since
Oh.
this is the third book you should read before you die or whatever.
Yes.
So we'll be reading The Tale of Genji. We'll see how it goes. What do we decide? Like, first 16 chapters?
Yes.
See ya.
15.
We're going to read a chunk of The Tale of Genji.
So I assume that the cutoff was like around 506 or so,
Yeah.
or 500 or something,
Yeah, there was one of those little
right?
breaks
Like
at 560, but I only got that far.
Okay.
424?
Okay. I love this book. I didn't think that I would like it as much as I do. I think what does it for me is you sort of have to get into the zone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I find that when I start reading, I sort of get into this flow state, and everything just makes sense, even though she's actually rambling or it's the stream of her thoughts. It's ingenious. I can't believe that that it actually works.
So flow state, it literally is just a non-stop
Flow.
flow. It's essentially one sentence. There are parts that break it up, though. It's almost like chapters. Talked about the lions, or the mountain lion.
Mm-hmm. The lioness. Do you find it interesting that she's including, that as the break?
Well, I don't know if that's the narrator. It's not the narrator. I don't know what it is yet. Out of the whole thing, there's no dirty words. But at one time during the lion part, when female lion meets male lion,
Yes.
she very aggressively stated, that leads me to believe it cannot be the same narrator.
I was really surprised too that was just sort of thrown in. When she is so reluctant to, include those types of words in the stream of consciousness. Are you enjoying this as much as I am?
I am, but something about it feels like it's slow going, I guess.
Really? I don't know.
Not like
Well-
slow pace-wise, but like I feel like I'm on a page for a long time. And I'm a slow reader to begin with. So like I'll read for an hour, but then I'll look at the page number and be like, oh, I'm not that far from where I started.
And I guess it's just it's such an original piece of work so it's sort of like a marathon for your brain. I don't know,
Well, I'm fascinated with the fact that she can still weave a sort of plot. She never states like, I'm in the kitchen. Like you can tell that she gets stuck in like her flat tire. Like she doesn't go through the motions of describing, but you pick up on these things. She's pretty much always baking, and she never explicitly states what she's doing, but you pick up. It's really smart. But you also, to get one little piece like that, have to go through like 7 pages.
I think we're still on the first day.
You gotta be on the second day, I thought.
Do you think so?
It starts off, she's baking tarts to teen,
Mm-hmm.
and then she goes to the dentist and to deliver them.
And she had her flat tire.
And she gets her flat tire.
And she, I sort of liked she told her kids that she was saved by Jesus,
Yeah.
but I guess it was Jesus of,
the mechanic.
yeah,
Yep.
of New Philadelphia or something.
Talks about the morning again.
Okay. Yeah, you're
And
probably
breakfast. Keeps talking about these weird words. I'm like, Colby, what's a? I can't pronounce the word. Whatever that
right.
P
That
word
P word.
with the Dutch pancake.
Yeah.
So we gave it a Google. You need yeast. So we didn't make them. Right now, it's been 3 pages of her only listing foods, which is unusual because like that's not something that's throughout the whole book. It's not like she picks at something and goes on for 3 or 4 pages.
Mhm.
She's done it twice now with this and the Vills. I don't know if you got to that part.
Yes.
But it's rare. I also like how she'll repeat a part of the sentence over again. It's like, but you do that in your mind. You don't realize it. Well, you'll have the same thought, and I'll pause for a second and be like, wait, am I in the wrong spot? And then I realize that it's the same thought in a different train of thought.
But it all fits together.
It does.
Though, I think. I don't know how she does it. It's just.
It's because she's much smarter than I'll ever be. I spend a lot of time Googling things.
Did you find anything in particular that was really fascinating that she mentioned or brought up?
Well, everything's factual. Like,
Mhm.
everything she mentions, nothing's made up. She was talking about the soldier standing there for Woodrow Wilson. I found the picture. Like,
Did you
that's a real
really?
thing. The soldiers really did that. Or the school shooter who flipped a coin, that was a real thing. Like, once I saw the kid, I was like, I remember that happening, but I didn't realize it was a coin flip.
I sort of got stuck on the tardigrades.
The water bears.
Yes, the water bears. Well, see, I mean, the pictures of them look a little weird and scary, but if you watch videos, all right, so there's one video. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. It's called, what is it called? Chubby, Misunderstood, and Not Immortal. About the tardigrades. They're so fascinating. I mean, it's because, like, they're almost indestructible.
Mhm.
They survive by going into a ton state where everything just sort of like shuts down, and then so in that same video you'll also see them pooping. You have to watch it.
I mean, I guess everything poops, but I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, tardigrades poop too.
Where do they live, though?
Like in they live on lichen and other things, like in things.
So they're actually like in like the forest. Because I've seen them before, like with their little like.
I mean, like in the videos they're cute, but just the pictures just sort of creep me out. But
I now know the difference between hay and straw.
yeah, there were so many facts. There's a lot to digest. We just cannot seem to get away from the Arabian Nights because it's mentioned everywhere. I mean, like in everything we read, even in Duck's Newberry
Yes,
Report. Did you see that?
I did. I read this one. Ben tells me bird flu only has to mutate a few more times to cause a global pandemic like Spanish flu, and that if that happens, civilization will grind to a halt within a year.
Now this was written before.
Yeah, if it was a
right?
29 shortlist, it had to have been written in 2018.
Yeah, I just thought that some of it seemed so prescient. I mean, I don't know. It just
Okay, it was written in 2019.
wow. Okay.
It's all creepily prophetic in some ways.
Ooh.
What do you think the point of the lion stuff is?
I don't know. So I can't wait to find out. I just have no idea how it's going to end or where we're headed. I mean, if it's going to even, I don't know. But I am so glad that we decided to read this together because I would have to say it's one of my favorite books.
Of the year?
Or it will be. Probably of the year.
Okay. How it's going to be getting through.
So we're going to finish Duck's Newberry Report and then read a third of the Tale of
That's the
Genji?
plan.
Okay,
That's
we'll
the
see
plan.
how it goes.
Oh, did you finish the garden book?
Yes, The Samurai's Garden by Gail Tsukiyama. This was recommended to me by Joe, one of our patrons. He was telling me that it's one of his favorite books, so he said that I had to read it. It takes place during the Japanese invasion of China in the late 1930s, I think. Where am I? Yeah, so this young painter named Stephen is sent to a coastal town of Japan to convalesce from TB.
Okay.
And while he's there, he's cared for by the family's housekeeper. Yeah, so, and it's basically about his time there and just what he learns from Matsu, who is the housekeeper.
Okay.
So it's a quiet, contemplative book. I mean, I liked it. A strong 4.
Okay.
And then I read Relish.
Oh.
It's a graphic novel
So
about...
you read the graphic novel.
Yeah! Food. And this one was so good.
Is that a food pun? Is it about like a certain kind of cuisine or just food in general?
Well,
or?
she's the daughter of a chef. Of course, if you have parents with that background, you will eat well. And it's about her adventures with food, and the illustrations are just amazing. So I enjoy the anecdotes, the illustrations, and the recipes.
So there's recipes.
Yes.
And I guess it's just the experience with the different dishes.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about clowns in a cornfield, did we? Read this this book called Clowns in a Cornfield, where you can probably guess there was clowns in a cornfield, and it was a old school slasher kind of vibe for like 80s and 90s movies, but tried to bring it up to date with some current topics, and it wasn't bad if you don't mind beheadings and hatchets to the face and people catching on fire and
sounds pretty gruesome.
Citizen, an American lyric by Claudia Rankine. I don't know if I said that right.
I am familiar with the author, but also, what is that book about?
It's part like essay and part poetry about this American experience and like microaggressions. Like an essay about tennis, Serena Williams. I didn't know what I was getting into. That book was really, really good. It's worth a read. Books Make a Home, which was, I guess it was supposed to be a design book. It had like pictures of books in people's houses, but like the words were so dumb. Old books in a kitchen can indicate rustic cooking. I'm like, I don't know, that might be a stretch.
That is a little odd.
Dogman has a spinoff called Cat Kid Comic Club, and it's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, know what it was gonna be, and it's different than Dogman, where it's not like an adventure story. Lil Petey and blanking on her name. Anyway, they're like teaching the tadpoles like to be themselves and to create comics. And like they even have a little message for the parents. Like there's a bunch of poop jokes in it. The dad fish starts getting all mad. They're like, maybe you need to lighten up. Between the water bears, the swallow, and this cat kid. There's been a lot of poop this month.
Oh my gosh.
Went through one called 2020, which was nothing about this year. Just different pieces of art from this gallery. Everything from like photography and paintings, Andy Warhol's self-portraits in a photo booth, and Ray's picture of like the tear, Alad Lasry. He's a photographer. His photos were okay, but there was one in particular. So this was one of the pictures. That's one of the photos.
Oh.
I swear, like I showed Colby, and we can't place it. We swear we watched a movie, and she was in it, and we can't figure out who she is or what movie it was. And I keep Googling all kinds of like model from Girl Set 2011 or actresses with facial mole, and I cannot figure out who this looks like or who this is. I was
gonna say she looks familiar, or that whole.
I even downloaded the Google app. You can do that like image search, photo to the book, click the button, and it gave me every option to buy this shirt. It could not tell me who this was.
That is so funny. Maybe she just resembles someone who you've seen on. Huh.
But you're the third person to say she does look familiar. So
she does.
So we'll hopefully someone will be able to. Well, if you're interested in that shirt, I can help you out. Ancient Magus Bride, Volume 1, manga book. Apparently it's really popular here. Like it checks out all the time. Weird dude with a skull head, like a cow skull head, buys a 15-year-old girl to one day marry. She doesn't realize how much magical power she has, so he's going to train her as his like apprentice. This volume 1 just kind of introduced a bunch of characters, and I feel like they're going to come back, but this one didn't really. The story wasn't there yet, but Notes on a Case of Melancholia or a Little Death.
Now, why does that sound familiar?
I put it on display where it's got the big pink side. The guy started off on a Kickstarter to make this book, and the only words in it are these names of the death's family members. It's all pictures.
Wait, it's pictures?
All pictures. It's like 30 pages, hints to the whole story. It starts on the cover. Like, it's fascinating. He didn't draw it. He etched it into, like, what was it, like a board or something, and then inked that and pressed it down. So it's all black with very little bits of pink. Comedy about death you don't know you need for 2020. Reading through it a couple times and you just find new things. And I say it's real subtle how he plays with pictures in the book. Like, I don't know. So if you get a chance to flip through that one, I would definitely do that. It's funny because it's French. Le Petit Mort. I never realized like how much I'm into doing until we do these videos.
So on to the new year.
New year, new books. Well, New Year's, same old books for a while.
It's been an adventure. Yeah.